You're listening to Focus on Africa on the BBC World Service. Now, Zambia's new president, Edgar Lungu, is getting down to the task of governing his country for the next 18 months. He secured a narrow victory in last week's presidential poll, winning with 48.3% of the vote, compared with his rival, Hakainde Hichilema of the United Party for National Development, who is close behind with 46.7%. Now, today, President Lungu has been naming the cabinet he wants to help him in turning the country's stuttering economy around. Well, Richard Elsen is an analyst with Byfield Consultancy that specialises in Zambian affairs, and he joins me now in the studio. It was quite a low overall turnout, which initially people were saying, oh, it's all down to the rain, and it was postponed or it was extended in some areas. But what to you does this low turnout, almost apathy, say?
Well, I think that the rain played some part of that, but you've got to remember that Zambia is a country that in the last 3 years they've had 24 parliamentary by-elections forced by the PF, who were looking to get opposition MPs over. Everyone in Zambia also knew that they were due to go to presidential elections in September 2016, 18 months away. So I kind of feel those two factors have contributed to what you might call some voter fatigue in the country. Also, don't forget, in 2011, I think 3 million odd Zambians voted. And really, that was a year where the PF ran on a big ticket about change. 20 odd years of MMD. People wanted a new government. This time round, it's partway through first term. And I just think people really got some fatigue about all that.
Or people also saying, let's give them a bit of a chance before we vote somebody else in?
Well, I think there might be some of that. But the other thing I would say, people have to remember that in 2011, the UPND, led by Hakainde Hichilema, only got about 18% of the vote. So you do have to give him a lot of credit for a campaign.
I mean, now with 46.7, they certainly gave the ruling party a run for their money.
They certainly did. But really in the absence of MMD, the former ruling party, whose former leader and the former Zambian president, Rupiah Banda, went in behind Edgar Lungu and threw his support to him. In many ways, I think the PF needs to be thanking him for what he did, given that there was only 27,000 votes in the result.
Can you tell us about the new vice president that's been named today, who she is?
Yeah. Well, Inonge Wina was at Lungu's side throughout the campaign. She, of course, is the PF chairperson. But really, that really was an eye-catching appointment, I think, in that for the first time in Zambian post-colonial history, we now have a woman VP. It's going to be fascinating to see her role as it evolves, and particularly fascinating her role in 2016 in September when all the voters go back to the polls.
There's he's kept the old finance minister. Will that be pleasing to many Zambians?
Well, Zambia's had a lot of economic challenges. We have a plummeting copper price on the world markets. Alexander Chikwanda, who stays in post, I think he's got a lot of pressure on him. One of the key factors in the election, at least from the UPND point of view, was this whole issue of mining tax. And fairly recently, the Zambian government moved it from 6% to, in some cases, up to 20%.
So not letting foreign companies off. Tax.
Exactly. But at the same time, what happened in the mining sector is that some of the mines now are going into maintenance rather than production. And so that has a downward effect on jobs. And of course, that goes into the economy.
So many are going to be watching that portfolio very closely. Richard Elsen, thank you very much for joining us here.
Thank you.